I know that you might be blaming the Instagram algorithm, that red flag client, or maybe you just feel like you haven't gotten lucky in your business yet. I hate to break it to you, but the only person standing in the way of your success is you right now. In today's episode, we are getting into the nitty-gritty of money mindset so that we can spot the silent self-sabotage that is keeping you from achieving your goals right now. Welcome to the Dishing Up Digital podcast, where the dress code is sweatpants and the business model is freedom first. I'm your host, Ellen, and I quit my 9-to-5 job because it was sucking the soul out of me, and I figured out the Wi-Fi was better at home anyway. And now I am a proud 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. grind girly, building a business that feels good, pays well, and leaves room for a glass of midday rosé. Around here, we are not chasing the hustle. We're building freedom-first businesses that make an impact on the world without sacrificing our sanity. Whether you're a coach, creator, service provider, or CEO in the making, this podcast is your permission slip to do business your way. With strategy that slaps, mindset that moves, and the vibes that feel like a voice note from your biz bestie, this is Dishing Up Digital, baby. The wine is optional, but revenue isn't. Well, it certainly feels good to be back behind the microphone. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dishing Up Digital podcast. I'm really excited to be filming and recording some new episodes today. Part of the reason for taking a break was having a little bit of a rebrand of the podcast. As you can see, we've got our nice new cover image, we have our fancy new intro, and I'm now doing video for all of the episodes. So if you would like to watch as well as listen, you'll be able to do that on Spotify and also YouTube. To celebrate the relaunch of the new season, I'm dropping a couple of episodes over the next few days, and I wanted one of them to be this episode because I love talking about social media strategy. I've just recorded an episode for you as part of this launch on booking new clients and booking more clients and how to book out your services. So I love that side of business. But what I love just as much and what I feel like is often not the thing that gets the most like clicks or downloads, and that is your mindset. And in today's episode, I specifically wanted to hone in on a conversation around money mindset. This was inspired by a post that I put up on my Instagram recently that was called How I Think About Money as a 6-Figure Business Owner. Today, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into my own journey as a business owner with money, with investments. We're going to define what the broke girl mindset is, and I'm also going to give you some actionable steps on how to work on your money mindset to ultimately unlock that growth in your business. Okay, so let's unpack the broke girl, exactly who she is and what she's doing in your business. If you have ever had a voice in your head that goes, oh, you can't afford that, or that's a risky investment, or you're perhaps writing off a course, a coaching program, a new contractor you want to hire before even thinking about the ROI, it's just an immediate no. This is often your inner broke girl talking. She is stuck in survival mode, even when technically there is money in the bank. And I can speak to this because I have my own inner broke girl, and she is very loud and proud sometimes. She is the inner belief that I have that I have to like hoard money to be safe. And I think this is something so many of you will relate to, and this is going to resonate with. Your inner broke girl at the end of the day is just trying to protect you. It is that part of our brain that craves safety. And as humans, we find a lot of safety in money and having lots of money, which to be fair, there is an accuracy there, right? Like there is a reality to that. When you get sick and you want to go see a doctor, if you want to see a specialist, here in New Zealand, we have a lot of really good public healthcare. But if we want to go private, we've got to have money. If you want to send your kid to the best school in your area, that's going to cost you some money. If you want to have a gym membership so you can stay healthy, that's going to cost money. So there's all of these very real things, very tangible things that do create a sense of safety, wellness, create a better life that are tied to money. But here's the truth about your inner broke girl. While she is thinking of protecting you, while she is almost like disguised as that part of your brain that is looking out for the best for you, that is a part of a brain that is driven by fear and not driven by strategy. This is where you get held back in business. This is where you don't make an investment that is actually going to help you grow because you're scared. You're scared of the income. You're scared of the investment. This is when you hold back from hiring and instead burn yourself out trying to do everything on your own in your business, speaking from experience, guilty as charged. And instead of hiring help and spending that little bit of money to make your life a hell of a lot easier, you don't. This is where you'll also find yourself in the trap of always discounting your services because you don't have the confidence to present your full prices to potential clients. This is where there's an element of undermarketing or not showing up because of that fear. Maybe you are sitting here and you've always wanted to start a podcast like this, or you've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you haven't even started your business yet. A lot of those fears that are ultimately stopping you from doing that come from, you guessed it, your inner broke girl controlling everything. She's got her fingers in every part of your life. This is also often referred to as your scarcity mindset. And guys, if you are letting your scarcity mindset control your business, it's like you're trying to step into the role of a premium service provider or a premium coach or course provider who charges thousands of dollars and offers this brilliant service, yet it's kind of like you're serving champagne in a paper cup, right? You want to be the best in your field, and you know deep down that you actually are. You have the talent, you have the skill, but this scarcity mindset is holding you back from your potential. And for me, it ultimately often does stem back to that feeling of a lack of safety and that feeling of not having enough money and trying to hoard money instead of reinvesting into your business. And I wanted to talk about my journey a little bit more in depth here because I am someone who comes from a, middle class family, let's call it. Like, I like to say that I had a lot of advantages in life in that I had a mum who stayed home for most of my childhood until I was in high school. I had meals cooked for me every day by my mum. I would come home from school to my jam sandwiches, my little pile of crackers, and my biscuit. I had parents who would read books to me every single night. Bless my mother, who literally read the whole Harry Potter series to me because I couldn't read it on my own. I was a little bit too young. I came from a household with a lot of support and a lot of love, and I really appreciate and I know that privilege. However, we went through periods of time in my childhood where we did struggle, and I had a family that was affected by the 2008 global financial crash. I had a family that went through redundancy, that went through times let's just say, without going too deep into it, were tough. Were tough financially. It was tough to pay the bills. And I kind of developed a bit of a mindset from there around linking safety to money in a massive way, because I saw how hard it was for my parents to go through that and our family to go through that. And my mindset was, I never want to be like that. Like, I always want to have savings. I want to have money in the bank so that I'm safe. And this is the mindset that did stop me from starting my business for quite a long time, or even quitting my job and going full time in my business, was ultimately because like that security of a corporate job with my monthly little paycheck was everything. Like, that was everything to that part of my brain that craved money, that craved the safety that money provided. And when I transitioned full-time, eventually, if you're a regular listener of the podcast, you'll know we got there eventually and you will have heard the whole story. But when I did go full-time into running my business, I tried to hold on to that same money mindset, that same investment style of really making sure I had a good rainy day fund, of really making sure the majority of the income that was coming in was going into savings. And again, there's not necessarily anything like super wrong with this. Like, I get it. Like, I'm literally telling you my story. I've been there. I've walked that path. And I do think it's important to have your rainy day fund. But the trap that I see so many business owners falling into is just always building the rainy day fund and never building the business. And again, this is where everything changes when you become the boss, when it's your business. In a corporate setting, there were other people who were in charge of growing the company, right? You were just one small part of the machine. For me, I was a journalist. So I was the writer for a magazine, one of the writers for one magazine at this one massive publication. So I was doing my job of delivering really cool stories and writing really cool features for the magazine. When you become the business owner, on the other hand, though, you are the person who is now head of growth. Like you are the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. You are also head of growth, and you're also actually doing all the delivery in terms of serving clients. And this is exactly why you see so many successful CEOs who, when they grow their business to a larger scale, will invest in people like a CEO or a CFO and not just be the founder who does everything. But when you are an early stage entrepreneur and you're scaling to your first 6 figures or maybe multiple 6 figures, we obviously do not have the funds to hire a very experienced CFO to manage these kind of things and to manage our growth. That ultimately comes down to us. But if we treat the money coming into our business like we used to treat our salary, we are not going to see growth. Because your salary, that money comes through the door. We're going to put a percentage on rent, on utilities, on food, the gym membership, my membership to my facial. I do get a monthly facial, okay, guys. It is my one thing that I love, my special treat to myself. But, we all have a little special treat, and that's where our salary goes, right? But a salary is very different to your business income. Yes, you are going to draw a salary from that. You are going to use that money to pay your bills, essentially, and it's all coming into the bank account like your, corporate salary used to. But there are other places that money needs to go in order to be generating growth in your business. For me, as an early social media manager, I was really determined to do everything myself and to not hire contractors, to not hire a huge team, because in my mind, I was like, why would I pay someone else to do that when I can do that myself? And I can probably do it better. And I'm just going to keep all this money. Like, why would I pay someone else when I can keep the money and do it? And once again, this will work for a certain amount of time. For a certain amount of time, things will be going grand. Things will be good. Money is coming in. I literally doubled my salary in my first year of freelancing and working for myself full time. Like my old corporate job was around $40,000. I was clearing $80,000, New Zealand dollars, I should add, within my first 12 months of freelancing full time. But I also got to a point where I really wanted to be consistently making 10K months. I was like, that's the new level that I want to unlock. And I would work my butt off. I would do everything what I thought was the right way. I would keep pushing. I would keep going. And every month I would get to like 7K, 8K. I even got up to 9K one month. But it was like 10K was this impossible roadblock that I couldn't get through. And then I decided to finally give in and hire my first contractor. And guess what happens? The 10K month happened and I actually never looked back. I never had a month lower than 10K from that moment on. And that was the moment that I started to realize my inner broke girl, who we love her. She's just looking out for us. She just wants the best. She wants us to be safe, but she's not strategic. And I realized my inner broke girl was holding me back from the success that I wanted to see in business. Let's come back to that old cliche. You need to spend money to make money. If you want to see growth in your business, you need to be investing in systems and tech, in marketing, in team members, in coaching and education and upskilling. There are so many different things you can be investing in, and that's a whole other topic on its own, what's actually worth it and at what stage in business. But the point is, you need to get comfortable with taking a little bit of risk and making some of these investments. And like I could sit here all day talking about the investments that have gone wrong, like the coaches that I've hired who have been terrible and had no impact on my business. The courses that I've bought that have been complete duds and they cost me $1,000 and then I open them up and it's a literal screen recording of a Google Doc as an 8-minute video lesson. And I'm like, WTF, what is this? True story. This is why I'm so passionate about making my courses the best quality with presentations, tutorials, face-to-camp videos. I have been burned before, let's just say. I've also hired contractors, spending upwards of $10,000 on one individual service provider, and it really made no difference to my bottom line. I make mistakes. I am human, and sometimes what I invest in does not pay off. But the point is, I keep investing. I keep looking for the different avenues and the different things that are going to help me grow. I started to shift my mindset from budgeting from a place of fear to investing from a place of growth and potential. What this also looks like is stopping obsessing over the very, very fine dollars and details of your business, and stop the obsessing over likes and followers. And although it's good to track those measurements and those metrics, I should say, one thing that's really helped me in managing my inner broke girl recently, and I would say in the past year, is I've actually stepped away from like monthly tracking and monthly analysis and started looking at quarterly analysis, because I found month to month as a freelancer can be kind of like an emotional roller coaster. And especially if you've got things like digital products in my business, I'll have launches, which, result in very high income months. And then the next month I'll be executing or delivering that work and it drops down again. And that was a lot for my little inner broke girl to manage and to handle. And it put me off investing in higher ticket coaches and courses and masterminds that I knew I really needed to go to this next level of my business. So what I've been doing in the last year has been this quarterly review rather than monthly, because quarterly allows you to zoom out and you're still checking in with your business and your analytics regularly enough to see if, something's going wrong and spot the gaps. But you're zooming out in a way that you're not putting too much pressure on the finer details. And those finer details, that is like the best food for your inner broke girl. She will thrive off those that 1 week your Instagram views dropped, or that 1 week your income dropped. And then you're zoom out and you're oh yeah, but the next week I had 3 overdue invoices that finally got paid, or I had this sale, or I had, these bunch of orders come through. We need to kind of support ourselves in not feeding that inner broke girl. We need to do these kind of things that are going to set up our mindset to be working in the best positive place. And for me, that has been zooming out, quarterly tracking. The other trap I've seen entrepreneurs fall into is creating these, imaginary rules for themselves. They'll be I'll invest in that coach when I've made that amount of money. I'll invest in that program when I've made that amount of money. And this is a funny one because I always think, and I think I've developed this mindset now of, if I know I want to work with that person, if I know I want to hire that contractor, then I'll just hire them now. I have a couple of students who I admire so much because they have the balls to do this. I have students who've come through the Dishing Up Digital School, have launched their social media management business and then hired a contractor within 3 months. And they're yeah, I can't technically afford this. It's a bit of a stretch at the moment, but I'm doing it. And that is the kind of attitude that is going to set you up for success. You might think that saving money is the safe bet. It's the way to go. But in reality, when you are the boss, when you are running your business, you need to be investing. Investing, taking a little bit of risk. This is actually the safe option. This is where your business is going to keep evolving. And it's when you get to a position like me where I'm I've been doing this for 5 years full time. I kind of sometimes wake up and I'm wow, I'm still here. How am I still doing this? And it is because I manage my mindset. I manage my money mindset. I manage that inner broke girl, and I keep reinvesting. Some mantras to kind of rewire your money mindset. And I'm going to read these off my phone if you are watching on YouTube or Spotify so that I get them right. I want you to write these down. My favorite thing with mantras like this, when I really need them, is to write them on a sticky note and put them on my computer screen or on my desk somewhere so I'm constantly reminded of them. The first one is shift from control to trust. Money is a renewable resource. This has been a big one for me recently because I have made a lot of investments. I've hired a new team member, an operations manager who works for me 20 hours a week. I've hired a very expensive business coach. We've recently moved studios as well. And so there's a lot of money coming in, but it very quickly goes out the door in my business. And I have to get comfortable with that cash flow and that movement. But I keep trying to come back to myself and remind myself, actually, I'm not starting from zero every month. There is a flow of money coming into my business constantly. The next mantra and tip is to track your wins, not just revenue. So again, I love zooming out and doing those quarterly reviews, but I also love to track other goals that aren't technically tied to revenue. I also have a folder on my computer, which is completely full of reviews, messages, DMs, anything positive, any positive feedback about my business. I track that and I put that into this folder. A third money rewiring mantra for you is, how does your wealthy self act today? If you were making $1 million, you would not be scared to hire that new contractor, right? So really channel that energy. And finally, I want you to ask yourself, is this a broke girl move or is this a CEO decision? Every time you make that decision from fear, you are reinforcing the broke girl. And that is going to be a wrap on today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. I hope it's been inspiring. And once again, I know it's not sometimes as juicy as the topics like how to go viral on social media, but trust me when I say this has the ability to make or break your business. Make sure you're subscribed if you're new, and I'll catch you in next week's episode.